I'm Doc AJ and welcome to Adjusting Your Heart. We talk about mental health and relationships every Friday, so please do subscribe. October 10 is World Mental Health Day. Mental illness has become the third most common disability in the Philippines, with 6 million Filipinos having depression and anxiety. Here are 3 helpful tips that you can apply as you take care of a family member with mental illness. A mental illness is a mental health condition that has a negative effect on the way an individual thinks, feels, and behaves. Types of mental illnesses include anxiety disorders, depressive disorders, bipolar disorders, eating disorders, obsessive-compulsive disorders, or sleep-wake disorders. So in case you have a family member with mental disorder, here's tip number 1. Encourage that person to seek professional help. What are signs to watch out for with regards to mental illness? Drastic changes in appetite or sleep, extreme mood swings, chronic low-grade depression, hallucinations and or delusions. It means seeing or hearing things that are not actually there. Unhealthy coping mechanisms, drinking too much alcohol or using drugs. Unusual emotional outburst. I'm not saying that if a person exhibits one of the signs mentioned, he or she is mentally ill. It's normal to feel sad, anxious, worried, or irritated. But when these feelings get very intense, last for a long time, and begin to interfere with one's school, work, or relationships, it may be a sign of a mental health problem. That is why it's best to consult mental health professionals. They are in the best position to diagnose and to help. But be prepared that the person who might have mental illness might resist and insist that nothing is wrong. Then point out specific instances that would prove otherwise. Just like any physical illness, we need to consult a doctor or take medication once the sickness gets serious. You can also offer to accompany that person to the doctor. The doctor might recommend counseling or individual therapy so that the person might learn how to cope with stress and also control his or her emotions. For me, taking meds should be the last option. Of course, there will be cases wherein medication is really necessary, like hallucinations. Even so, medication should be coupled with counseling. If the doctor prescribed medication, find out why and for how long. Ask, what are the side effects? At home, monitor if the patient is taking it religiously, because sometimes they can pretend to swallow and then they would spit it out when you're no longer there. You can buy a weekly pill box and help them chart their medication. Tell them that the goal is to improve their mental health. Once they do, the doctor will taper down the medicine. So please, don't stop medications on your own. You have to let the doctors do that gradually. Tip number 2, educate yourself about mental illness. This will prevent misconceptions and give our loved ones effective help. Don't just get any information from the internet, YouTube, or TikTok, because there's so many fake information. Make sure you go to reliable websites. Check out the credentials of the lecturer. You can also check out our previous video on how to help someone who is depressed, or 5 things you can do to help someone who is suicidal. You can also read books written by experts, just like this book, written by Dr. David Miklowitz. It's entitled The Bipolar Survivor Guide, What You and Your Family Need to Know. Find out how you can help your loved one. Let them know that you are there for them and that you love them. Listen and validate their feelings. You can check out our previous video on how to make others feel special by validating their feelings. Know what triggers the patient and avoid it. Know how to deal with that person, especially during a meltdown. Aggressive behavior shouldn't be tolerated. You can also consider undergoing family therapy. So as a family, you guys can learn how to support the patient. You guys can also take turns in taking care of the patient so you don't get burnout. Build your own support system. You should have trusted friends that you can also talk to, or maybe a small group or a support group that you could go to. Tip number 3, empower that person to improve. Don't spoil or allow that family member with mental illness to waste his life away playing video games or watching Netflix all day long. You may assign simple household chores or work-related tasks. These would also boost that person's confidence. But please don't pressure that person in doing too much too soon. So strike a balance. Encourage them to meet up with friends, or you might also ask a good friend to reach out to him. Acknowledge the positive changes wherein we could see that their mental health is improving, like accomplishing goals, reduction in symptoms and emotional outbursts, having a stable appetite, sleeping better, establishing healthy boundaries, looking inward for validation instead of outward. Let me end with an inspiring story of how General Greg F. Martin, a 36-year Army combat veteran and retired 2-star general, became a bipolar survivor and warrior. The first 4 decades of his life were healthy, happy, and successful. He was an accomplished student, athlete, and leader. He completed the Army's elite and grueling Ranger School, commanded soldiers in combat, and served globally from the age of 23. He ran 7 marathons, each under 3 hours, and completed a PhD at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. All the while, he was happily married with 3 talented sons. So he was shocked when at the age of 58, General Martin Dempsey, the highest ranking military officer in the US, asked him to resign or be fired. He also ordered him to undergo a psychiatric exam because General Martin became increasingly disruptive, erratic, and eccentric. General Martin obeyed but was misdiagnosed 3 times and was rendered fit for duty. Over the next 4 months, he spiraled into crippling depression, which was accompanied by terrifying psychotic delusions. Morbid imagery of his own violent death filled his mind. Fortunately, an Army comrade helped him get into the excellent Veterans Hospital in White River Junction, Vermont. It turned out that he had a genetic disposition for bipolar disorder. It was undetected and undiagnosed from 2003 to 2014. The intense stress of the Iraq War, where he commanded thousands of soldiers, triggered the condition. His bipolar worsened, with many gut-wrenching soldier funerals he presided, the stress his own sons were facing as soldiers, and the resistance of the Army and Department of Defense from implementing long overdue transformation that would improve war efforts. He credits his recovery in 2016 to the following: his wife's love and perseverance, the support of family and friends, a compassionate multidisciplinary team of Veterans Army medical professionals. He's also taking medications like lithium, lamictal, and latuda. He said that these medications were necessary but not sufficient for his recovery. His recovery encompassed all the other things I mentioned. And now that he has recovered, his mission is to share his bipolar story to help stop the stigma and save lives. You can check out his website at www.generalgregmartin.com. You can also buy his upcoming book, Bipolar General, My Forever War with Mental Illness. We'll put the links below. How to take care of a family member with mental illness. Tip number 1, encourage that person to seek professional help. Tip number 2, educate yourself about mental illness. Tip number 3, empower that person to improve. If you're blessed by this video, please like, subscribe, and click on the notification button below. And do share this with others. Now I'd like to thank some people for encouraging us. Abby Lim of MGC, Jonalyn Patricia Chua Sebastian, Rosel Yu from Saddleback Laguna, Susain Shuatan, Jacqueline Ngo, Joyce Lu, Race Go of MGC, Mark Ryan Alvarez, Penny Lane Ong, Melanie Gao, and Pastor Marian Ferret. And do follow Adjusting Your Heart in Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Signal GCTV 185. Take care, everyone.